Welcome to Ignite Intimacy, a podcast exploring intimacy, romantic relationships, sexuality, and everything that relates to these hot topics. We're going in. Are you ready? This is your host, Laura Aisha. Let's do this. Hello, Ignite Intimacy community. You are in for a treat today. We have got Dakota Chanel on the line, and we are diving deep into the waters of our being, the waters of our kisses, the waters of our juice and our juiciness, and into desire and pleasure and honoring what our soul is calling us forward into, the types of relationships that actually make us thrive and feel connected and turned on. We talk about kissing and so many beautiful things in this conversation. So enjoy, stick around till the very end. We will have another poem by Noel. And yeah, enjoy this juicy conversation. And we'll see you on the flip side. Oh, it's so good to be here today with you, Dakota. What is going on, lady?
Feels so great. I'm just honestly like sinking into my new reality and loving it so much and finding all these ways where I can soften even more into receiving it, that I'm worthy, because it's so epic. It's like, is this really my life? So, deeply sitting with that worthiness. And what about you and Tulum and travel and everything?
Yeah, so you're on Maui. I'm in Tulum at the moment that we're recording this, and worthiness is so alive in my life right now because I have had this ongoing repeated experience with men where I make meaning about how men show up in my life or how they don't show up. And it's not like across the board, right? Like everyone shows up differently. And however, it's like, I know who I am, like I know what I bring to the table. And I also don't even know the fullness of it yet, right? Because like, how would I ever know the stretches of my beingness, right? Until I experience it. So it's like, there's so much there. And this choice to no longer seek others to validate my awesomeness, and like, and so that's, it's like just this story around like men showing up and being so like loving and sweet and I feel so good and it feels so awesome. And it's like, this is what I want, and then like they disappear and they like, just for whatever reason, they get busy or they're dating someone else or they meet someone else or they're, tied up in a project or they lose interest or whatever. Like, and then I have again and again and again made that mean that I'm not important, I'm not special, I'm not memorable, I'm not good enough.
Not good enough.
Yeah, like, and really it all ties into my worth, right? My worth and value in the world. Yeah. And so it's like, I'm in a deep process of like, really, like in the core of it to like blow it apart, that old belief that like, I need others to validate my worthiness in order for me to feel worthy and actually have what I want.
Yes.
Worthiness is alive and well in the realms right now.
It's so true. And the stories that we tell ourselves and that we play out, it's really powerful. And I love that you're rewriting that one. And I can deeply relate. I have a different story that I've been playing out, but just healing and coming home to the truth, which is that we are, the children of a love that's so great and so deep, and we're worthy of heaven on earth.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be jamming on some interesting topics to get today around water and like fluid and fluidness and the waters of the body and the waters of the earth. I know that you do a lot of work with the sacred waters of life. And so we'll be diving into topics around that and as it relates to personal and sexual health and as it relates to sharing our liquid, exchanging liquid with other people. And so, yeah, so it's really exciting to be here with you today.
So grateful, Laura. My favorite thing to talk about.
So it's great to get connected. I actually got connected with you through another podcast guest that was on in February, Damiana Rahshelle. And so she was wearing these gorgeous earrings and she was like, yeah, they have this sacred water in them. And I was like, what? Okay, I need to know who makes this jewelry. So she connected me with you. And then I realized that
I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. And the episode is really incredible. It's episode, I think that it's 105. It's episode 105. So check that out, Ignite Intimacy listeners. And you too, Dakota, if you haven't heard it, it's really powerful episode. And so just in learning more about you online, it's been really fun to kind of like check out your Instagram and just so everybody knows, if you want to hop on Dakota's Instagram while we're having this chat here, it's Dakota_Chanel. So it's Dakota, like the state _CHANEL.
And I actually had to sneak 2 underscores in there.
Okay, there are 2 underscores.
Find it with just 1 too.
Okay, cool. So Dakota __ Chanel, like the fashion brand. So cool. So yeah, talk to us about your journey as sexual being and relationship. I know you've been experiencing some transformations and an evolution in who you are, you know, as a woman and as a partner and as a sexual person in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really does relate back to the water. You know, I first started on my journey of really understanding the sacredness of water through aquatic bodywork. And I studied and lived with my teacher at a water temple for 2 years. And in that time, floating so many bodies in the warm water, I came to this really deep revelation that we are these moving liquid oceans, and that our bodies, as we know, are composed mostly of water, and that we are created from liquid. The mother is the holder of all form, and form is inherently feminine. And the beauty of the water, though, is that it holds the codes for sacred union, which is this lovemaking of all life. And yeah, so in working in the water, I came to understand womb consciousness and went on a really big journey into seeing the correlation between water and sexuality, and the sacredness of our sexuality and the sacredness of our fluids, and how that relates also to health on a physical level with nutrition, and understanding that our temples pure and really being our sacred guardians, recognizing that when we exchange DNA with another human being, it is not just a light thing. We're communicating on the deepest levels. And yeah, so it's a little bit about the water and my own personal journey. But what that translated to is, after living and studying at the water temple, I became an ordained water priestess through Aqua Mystica ministry. And then I felt called to study birth. And so I moved to the island of Kauai and did a 5-month doula training and dove even more into sex and birth, magic, womb consciousness. And what was unveiled in my time on Kauai is, and this relates to a question that you asked, Laura, you know, about my life right now really shifting, is my time on Kauai was spent really in a refinement of purity. So I was 99% raw vegan for almost 2 years. And in that time, I did a 9-month celibacy journey as well. And then I actually was in a partnership where he didn't believe in having sex and believed that pleasure was a distraction on the pathway to God, and that to become pure, it's really necessary to, just be self-contained in your sexual energy. And that's so not who I am. Like,
yeah, because I was curious, like, how did you, like, were you like, okay, I'm going to try this because I love you? Or were inside, were you like, no, what was your experience?
Both. So I committed myself to 9 months of celibacy and did a sacred marriage ceremony where I wrote out vows. Like, I no longer allow, I no longer allow anything but the most beautiful sexual experience for sacred union. Really come mystical potential that are available to us through sexuality, and really just sacred union in myself, because I realized, and this is a principle of the water as well, that life around us is reflecting and mirroring back to us our inner state of being. And so I was at this place of really wanting to create long-term loving partnership, and recognizing that I needed to embrace my own inner masculine in order to do that. So I did this sacred marriage, and then literally 2 weeks later, completely fell in love, and just moved in with this amazing man. And he was so supportive of my celibacy, and I was shocked because I'm like, what guy would be supportive of celibacy? That's so rare. So 9 months.
Exactly. You're like,
I'm like, what a gem. Okay, this is amazing, right?
Sure.
On top of everything. And so little did I know that it was actually because he believes in brahmacharya, that celibacy is the pathway to God, and that sex is only for procreation, and that pleasure is a distraction on the pathway to God. And that was both interwoven with sex as well as food, and really believing in, raw veganism being the superior diet, which, in a lot of ways it's really cleansing and healing. And also there's balance. So when he shared with me that he didn't want to have sex, my initial response was just absolute shock. But I was so in love, and, our lives were so interwoven at that point, that what ended up happening is I spent the next year where we would go back and forth, where sometimes he would try, and he'd say it was just empty and it would devastate me. And then I would say, okay, maybe you're right, I'll try celibacy, but then it would devastate me. And I felt like I had to hold back my love, hold back my sexuality, like it was dirty. And really, this is what religion has done, to separate sex from divinity. And it's just not true. Sex is the most sacred thing that we can share with another human being. And so, I ended up leaving that relationship because I had to choose my sexuality and my love for myself and my love for my body and my love for the way of the feminine, and that food and sex are beautiful. And that doesn't mean we should just, go, fuck everything that moves, or eat, 50,000 Snickers bars. It's like that there's a difference between between excess and then celebrating these beautiful bodies that we've been given. Like, we are here to experience being human. We're here to be fully alive, and to feel the ecstasy that's our birthright. And part of that is aligning with nature. So now I'm in partnership where we're so in love, and we make love all the time. And it feels so amazing, so nourishing on every level, and ultimately healing, because I noticed places in my body that had just shut down from shame. And sexual shame, and healing sexual shame, it's so deep.
Well, it is deep. And there's something so powerful when you can connect in real time with someone who is just so fully available and honoring, and, where you can just be so fully expressed with your sexuality, with your love. And I mean, that is a huge gift. And I love this post that you put about your fantasy when you went to Europe. And will you talk a little bit about that, like how you had this like fantasy and then
Yeah.
I think it's great
Yeah.
because I know for me, like when I, you know, as I'm traveling around, I'm like, oh, like wouldn't it be great if I, you know, met someone here and blah blah blah, and you know, and then you ask,
Exactly. Yeah. So I left that relationship to go on a pilgrimage of healing for myself. And I actually traveled to sacred water sites all around Europe. It was a water priestess pilgrimage. And I went to Glastonbury and the sacred springs there. And this relates to the story. So when I was in Glastonbury, I had this amazing glass flower of life orb, like water bottle, that a friend had gifted me. And I was filling it up at the sacred white spring. And then I went into the temple and I went into this water temple and I just started bawling. Like I had all these remembrances of being a priestess and past lives. And what happened is I had the water bottle with me the whole time. And I was literally hysterically crying for an hour. And it was about my sexuality. And I was fully releasing my past partnership. I was fully releasing my sexual shame. And I was working with the waters in the temple. And then I left and the water bottle flew off my shoulder and shattered in the middle of the street outside of the temple in Glastonbury, right next to the chalice well. And I'm like, okay, what does this mean? And then I wrote a poem about sacred union. And Glastonbury was this, amazing place of really feeling the sacred union come fully online within myself. And that's a whole other side tangent. But anyway, I went with to Europe with this intention. I had a vision that I would meet somebody and it would be like cozy fall time. We'd find this epic fireplace and we would just make love for days on fluffy rugs in front of a fireplace. And
sounds good to me.
But me too, right? I knew it was going to happen. Like I felt it and I saw it so clearly, and it didn't happen. And I was so confused. And I'm like, okay,
you're like, what the hell? Intuition?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, universe, this is like, you don't give me that kind of premonition and vision, and then it just doesn't happen. Like, I deserve it. Like, geez, you know what I just went through? Like, serve it up.
I need some love making here, people. Come on.
I mean, I did. I had a really beautiful lover experience actually in Italy, and it was one of the most spiritual sexual experiences of my life, which deeply relates to the sacred waters. And I'd actually love to share it as a side story before I share the magic of what happened with the fluffy rugs. So I went to Italy and I had a beautiful experience where semen is, so the our sacred sexual fluids are our most powerful fluids available to us. And semen is like a medicine elixir. And even in the word, semen breaks down to sea men, the men swimming through the sea. It's like the deepest DNA codes and way that we can communicate with a man. There's no lying with semen and with the DNA. We can just taste it and intuitively know, like, okay, is this a match? Is this not a match? And that's a whole deep, deep rabbit hole. But what ended up happening is I was with this lover and I swallowed his sacred seed, and it took me literally on a shamanic journey.
Wow.
And the heavens opened up in my ear and I heard the angels singing to me. It was like I had taken some kind of psychoactive substance.
Wow.
And it was pure magic. And there's a lot more to that story, but yeah, just sharing the potential that's available to us when we do the work. And, he works very consciously with his DNA and it pays off. And the semen is powerful. So anyway, a little side tangent of the lovership that did happen when I was in Europe. But yeah, then when I got home, I am now in partnership with the man who made the glass orb that broke outside of the temple in Glastonbury after I cried and released. So we're
that is powerful. Now, is he the one who gave you the glass?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And just after I did the sacred union prayer and that's the thing. Like, life is just so full of magic. And when we commit to the path and when we say yes to, following our golden thread, as I like to call it, and we give up what we think we should do and we follow our heart, like magic and miracles start to unfold around us. And I know that you can definitely relate to that.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, my fantasy came true a billion times better than I could have ever dreamed of. We've moved into a beautiful home with 2 fireplaces and a bunch of fluffy rugs, and we make love all the time on those fluffy rugs in front of the fire. So
Nice.
it's definitely like it's like a fairy tale come true.
Mm, mm, mm.
And
That
we're so worthy, and that relates back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this call, is worthiness and allowing ourselves to receive the goodness of our divine inheritance.
that's so beautiful. Yeah, I forget that our bodies are made up of 80% water. Like we're
Yeah,
so deeply connected to the water. And it's interesting because we're recording this conversation in Pisces, and there's this ability to tap into our fluidity that I know for me, I'm doing more and more. However, it's like it's a struggle with the outside world. It's like, just let me follow my flow, like I'm trying to follow the energy here. And like, everyone's got a problem with it, and not everyone, but it's like you're showing up in life in a certain way and it doesn't work for other people. And, but it's like, yeah, that energy in your body, that flow, that water is like guiding you constantly.
exactly. And yeah, being in flow state is so powerful. And part of being in flow state and creating more flow in our lives is, recognizing that our bodies are these resonating water temple crystals. And we are programming ourselves constantly with the thoughts that we think, with the words that we say. The water is conscious, and water is constantly being informed. And Dr. Emoto's work is so powerful with the water crystals and showing that love and gratitude make the most beautiful water crystals. And if we start to shift how we see our bodies from looking at them with this dense perspective of just flesh, and we start to look at our bodies as these liquid oceans of crystalline potential, we recognize that positive thinking and healthy food aren't just trends. It's really ways that we can, I believe, heal our DNA and reach our higher potential as human beings, because we've just barely touched on what's possible for the human being. And a lot of the Indian sages and gurus, of course, speak about the siddhi, and just there's magic, and water is magic, and we are water, and remembering that. So yeah, there's so many practical ways to treat our water temples with reverence. But some of my favorite is just making sure that I'm in states of gratitude and love as often as possible, and catching those negative thoughts, and also really being conscious of the water that I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And making sure, that I'm drinking living water. And that's a whole other side tangent.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because that's important, right? So it's important to hydrate
It's
our
very
bodies.
important.
It's important.
And when
Like I'm even thinking like, when we're being intimate with someone else, and it's like really important to have water very
it is.
nearby, you know what I mean? So
you get real thirsty real fast.
yes. so that's just like something that I'm saying, like for myself and everyone out there, is like, when we're being intimate and sexual and making love or fucking, have some water nearby for you and your lover, and and like take breaks, like feed each other water, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you can even make a ritual out of it. Put the water you can put the water inside of a beautiful chalice, and then before you make love, pray together into the water and infuse the water with your intentions, and then drink it together. And another one of my favorite ways to incorporate drinking water while making love are fountain kisses. And so you take a sip of the water and then you feed it to the other person through a kiss. And water kisses are like one of my favorite things to share. It feels so good to hydrate in that way.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like I love that. That's such a beautiful exchange, and there's also this like reaction I noticed inside myself, like, is that gross? You know, and then like you think about
if you're making out with somebody,
totally, exactly,
you're all up in each other's DNA. You're swapping spit.
Yeah, totally. It's like not even water, it's their spit, it's their saliva, you know. And oh my God, I just love kissing, you know, like the right people, right? Like I love kissing people that it works where it works.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, what makes it work.
Yeah.
It's like it's energetic and it's also chemical and physical.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just so interesting to me to like think back on like the last, you know, 5 men that I've kissed, and how some of them it's just like like instant, like we're just there, you know. And I have this thing about kissing, like I'm just like, if we don't kiss well, this is not going to work. You know, like I'm like, there are these,
of course,
there are like these certain things I notice about myself with men, and it's like, if we don't kiss well, if we cannot comfortably walk together in stride, where like we're arm in arm, or we're hand in hand, and we're like if we have different paces, it's not going to work. Like there are these like specific inherent things that I've realized through the years, that it's like, oh yeah, I really need that. Like I need to be able to walk down the street with my man and have us both be so in stride together, because there's something about that fluidity that feels amazing. And then it's like the same thing with kissing, you know, like I recently kissed 2 men at 2 different times, and one is like, okay, like this isn't really, like I'm not feeling it. And then one, it was just like zoop, and it was just like so passionate and so amazing. And yeah, so anyways, I digress. But so
I love that.
The water kiss.
Because you know, when you kiss somebody, you know, on a level so much deeper than the mind or what they look like or what they do for a job. It's like like I said, you're exchanging DNA and you're exchanging on such a subtle level. So something as simple as the chemistry of a kiss, like listen to that. Absolutely. And if your body's not getting wet and turned on by somebody, listen to that. And, you know, our part of staying hydrated too is really important for our sexual health and for our juices and for Amrita orgasms and the wetness of our yonis.
Yeah. So let's talk about living water and what you mean by that.
Yeah. Drinking water.
You said living water, like water that's alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So water that's alive is able to hold more light and more information. And we're these living biocrystals, right, of energy, information exchange. So when we drink water that's living, that's full of, you know, beautiful water crystals, we're putting those water crystals in our body, and we're going to have superior health on every level. But if being water that's chaotic or that has, you know, broken water crystal patterns and is polluted with toxicity, we're going to be putting that consciousness in our bodies. So I always recommend going and finding a fresh spring source, water that comes right out of the ground, right out of Mother Earth, where it hasn't even seen another human being. It hasn't even touched the light. To me, that water is the best water. Living spring water, because not only does it not have any of the contaminants from the past, you know, 200s of chemicals and industry, it also has been under the ground. And just think about the consciousness and the beauty of the crystals that Mother Earth makes. And it's just so much more powerful than we could replicate with a machine. Although there are really beautiful, like Kangen water is really amazing. There are water machines out there
Yeah.
for water purification. But I just always recommend getting spring water. There's something so ancient and primordial about it as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, I would assume that many of our listeners don't have access to a spring that's close by. So, and it's something to look into. Like, is there a natural water spring somewhere close to your home and, where
Exactly.
access
A lot of times there are, and we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like even I was in Italy and I'm like, God, I can't find a spring. And I was asking everyone and no one knew. And there literally was one right across the street that I found on my last day there.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a great website called findaspring.com. And I definitely suggest, just seeing if there's a spring in your area and then asking around. But besides that, the power of prayer and intention is potent. And so when you've ran your water through a regular water filter, I always suggest doing water prayers and just putting, our hands around the water, infusing it with love, with gratitude, and then speaking our intentions of hydration, of, any prayers that we have for the day. I love to do my water prayer every morning and drink it as medicine. Because like I said, the water is responding to us. And so you can program it with your intentions, with your prayers. And you can also add mineral drops. You could add ormus gold. You can add crystals. You can add flower petals. You can infuse the water with, whatever inspires you. Make different combinations.
Who is the person who did the water crystal experiment?
Dr. Emoto.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. Will you talk, do you know a bit about that? Could you share about some of that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Emoto did some really beautiful work with water where he would speak to the water crystals and then freeze them and then put them under a microscope and see what different words and vibrations, the effect that they had upon the water. And what he discovered is that speaking love and gratitude into the water made the most beautiful shaped water crystals, like, symmetrical, clear, and just gorgeous. And then if you spoke words of, fear or the water, it made really just broken crystals, not symmetrical, sad, ugly, to be honest, just not what we would consider to be a healthy crystal. And so it is really powerful to think, okay, our bodies are 99% water at the molecular level. They're over, half water percentage, and we are these liquid crystals, and we're constantly being programmed with the thoughts that we think, the emotions that we're feeling, the foods that we're eating, the people we're having sex with, like just life around us. And being aware of that and being aware of tending the waters of our body with gratitude, with love, and with reverence for life and for this opportunity to be human.
Amazing. And so in our journey, like as we're exploring the edges of our, erotic and sexual selves and stepping into deeper levels of intimacy with ourselves and with each other, what are some things to just be mindful of as we're choosing to exchange liquid with another human being?
It's a great question. Listen deeply to yourself. And if there's something that feels off, listen to that and don't compromise. I feel as women, we often compromise our sexuality and our experiences in order to, feel love or have an orgasm or, there's infinite reasons. But if you're not feeling it, that is the biggest piece that I feel we as women need to take our power back with, is listening to our authenticity in each moment. And if something feels off, to stop. And you don't owe it to anybody to compromise your intuition. And even if you can't explain yourself, you don't know why it feels off, just listen to that. And and trust that. Trust your intuition.
Thank you. Yeah, I just recently had an experience where it was like, nope, doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
And it was a big no. And it was like, I had a very just clear conversation about it with this man, and he was totally cool from what I could tell. And it opened up another conversation, and it was actually really powerful
Yes.
for me to say like, no. And then I also noticed that it's not always a no necessarily, right? So like it could be a yes sometimes, and then sometimes it's a no, and then sometimes it's a yes. So it is also fluid.
Yes. And it's really about listening to the moment. And sometimes, a no can turn into a yes very quickly. We just have to have deeper listening. And it's really easy to get naked and take our clothes off and merge our bodies with somebody, but it's a lot harder to take off the clothes and the armor that we have around our hearts and our souls and be vulnerable in that way. And sometimes what I've found, if my body's not opening to somebody, there might be a heart piece that needs to open, or there might be, a conversation that needs to be had. And so really deeply listening and coming to know ourselves and our authenticity is essential when it comes to having, beautiful sexual experiences and opening up to deeper intimacy. Intimacy breaks down to into me, I see, and recognizing that we're these mirrors for each other. And sexual partners can mirror some of the deepest beauty and triumph, and also the deepest shadow in us, because we can't hide anything when we're making love on those deeper layers. And that's the gift. That's one of the deep gifts of sex.
Well, it has been such a pleasure to be here on the line with you today. You've got some really cool programs that you're offering and different things. So how can people find you online?
They can go to dakotachanel.com. And on my website, you can find Water Priestess Mystery School. I also have a Water Priestess retreat coming up the beginning of May, and some free offerings as well.
Great. Okay. So that's dakotachanel.com. Dakota,
Yes.
like the state, and Chanel, like the fashion brand. That link will be in our show notes. Definitely check out Dakota also on Instagram. And I just love and honor who you be and the experience that you're having, and for being so open with us today. May we all just, honor the water and honor ourselves as water beings, and honor the waters of the earth, and be mindful and open, and just really respect, this water.
Yes.
It's something that I know I have certainly taken for granted. And then you start traveling the world, and you start going to places where there is no clean water, or there are water shortages, and they shut off the water for an entire city for several days. And
exactly.
and then it starts to become very real about water, So thank you so much, Dakota. What a great pleasure.
Thank you, Laura. It's been such a delight. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Great. Well, Ignite Intimacy Community, thank you for joining us. Dakota Chanel and Laura Aisha, jamming on water and sex and love, and, being honest and true to ourselves. We love you so much, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Lots of love, Dakota.
Aloha, Laura.
Aloha and mahalo.
Growth. With you, I find shape where I am flat. A growing hard roundness I can grab. This but one reason I love people like you, unable to hide desire. But I won't start there. I am thinking of the sensitive behind your ear, and how my breath will be a moist, warm message that spreads down your jawline, 90 degree to your chin, and how you will slowly smell the progression. And there I will be hovering beneath your lips, so very close to that shapely mouth, so close to my eager tongue. I could just lift my face. I could just tilt back your neck, secure you from behind and hold the tension, wondering if I will start what I can't stop.
Thanks for tuning in to another conversation on the Ignite Intimacy podcast hotline. We love that you choose to spend your time with us. Check us out at igniteintimacy.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review and a rating. It helps more people know about us. We love to hear from you. You can email us with questions, comments, or suggestions to hello@igniteintimacy.com. And tell your friends. Music was arranged by Jason Pfaff and Mike Corey, and this podcast is produced by yours truly, Laura Aisha. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, let your light shine bright and ignite your intimacy.